I'm 37 female, and I come from a close-knit family. I have 2 younger siblings, 28 male and 27 female, and my sister recently got engaged to future brother-in-law, 23, after dating him for around a year. We all know him well, and I've always gotten along with him. He comes from a rough background, but he's always been very polite and charming. He doesn't talk about his own family or about his upbringing. My sister said it's a painful topic for him, so no one ever pushed. There was recently a family event which brother-in-law attended. He was quiet during the day. He's normally high energy and sociable, then disappeared for a while. When I went outside to get some fresh air, I bumped into him. He was emotional and said it was a hard day for him due to negative associations. He ended up offloading some quite shocking things from his past, including that he has a history of very serious issues. I felt for him at the time because he was so upset, literally crying on my shoulder, but afterwards I felt more and more uncomfortable. I still feel bad for him since he clearly regrets it, but it's very shocking to find out that he has that kind of history, and it does make me feel differently about him. Obviously, I told my husband what my brother-in-law told me because I didn't feel comfortable keeping it to myself. I also told my sister because I didn't know how honest he had been with her, and it could impact her decision to marry him. She was angry and said she was fully aware, and it doesn't make her think less of him. I know others might disagree, but I decided that if my sister and brother-in-law weren't going to bring it up, then it was my responsibility to make sure my family had the information they needed to make an informed choice about what kind of relationship they have with him. My parents agreed that it was the right thing to do and were grateful. My brother said he could see my point, but didn't think it was my responsibility to share that information. My brother's wife thought I was out of line. When my sister found out I told our family about brother-in-law's sketchy past, she was very angry. She's now refusing to speak to me altogether because apparently this has affected brother-in-law quite badly. They are no longer engaged because he thinks he's not good enough for her, and no one in my family has seen him since all of this happened. Obviously, that wasn't my intention, and no one's saying that he isn't good enough. I think it's naive to pretend that you see someone exactly the same after finding out they're an addict. Whether you like it or not, there are risks that come with that lifestyle, and relapses are common. I'm concerned that my sister will get hurt, and I don't think it's unreasonable for my family to have access to the same information I do, especially when they're inviting him to their homes and there are children around, etc. Am I the idiot for informing my family about future brother-in-law's background? OP, you suck. Read this, and then read this again, and then 4 more times. Honestly, just keep returning to this comment, OP, because maybe it will eventually get through to you. I can't believe you exposed your future brother-in-law like that. That wasn't your place to tell anyone. He trusted you enough to show himself at a vulnerable time, and you took that trust and stomped all over it, then threw it on the ground and ran over it, so your family could make an informed decision. Would you like someone to tell your parents or in-laws your secrets without your permission? Be sure to tell everyone you meet in the future what you did here, so they can make an informed decision about you. Yeah, like an informed decision about what exactly? Whether to treat him like a human being? OP, if you have a shred of decency or humanity left in your heart, share it with your sister so she can share it with her ex, and he can see that he's not the problem, that there are many people that support him, and that what you did to him was not okay, and he shouldn't blame himself. Maybe they can still salvage what you so cold-heartedly destroyed. I do hope you can own up to your action and do better. Do you know what the worst thing about this is? He's only 23. He doesn't speak about his family. That honestly tells me he was kicked out at a young age or ran away and did what he had to do to survive. And OP decided to turn it into a family discussion. And I highly doubt she did it out the goodness of her heart, and more so that she can gossip. She doesn't have the self-awareness or emotional intelligence to realize any of this. My 28 female friend Sarah, 26 female, is getting married next week, and I'm her maid of honor. I should be excited, but This whole situation has caused me a lot of anxiety because I'm 8 months pregnant, and she isn't happy about it. You see, Sarah and her fiance Dave got engaged 2 years ago and decided they'd get married on their anniversary, which is so sweet and very them. As Sarah's maid of honor, I've been helping her plan and navigate through the many complicated feelings of being a bride, especially with setting boundaries with family members who don't understand that this wedding is about Sarah and Dave, not them. One of the major setbacks was their desire to have a childless wedding. Because of Sarah's anxiety, I decided to de-escalate some of her family members that demanded to be the exception and was able to help talk down all the people who felt entitled to this wedding. All was well with the world until I found out I was pregnant. My husband and I have been actively trying to have a baby for the past few years with no luck. I have some medical issues that make having children extremely challenging for me. And when I found out, I thought Sarah would be happy for me, but she told me I was incredibly selfish. She did the math and figured out I'd be due around the date of her wedding, which, she reminded me, I knew about well in advance. I tried to explain myself, but she wouldn't hear it. She said if I were really her friend, I would have planned around her wedding. I told her I realized she was hurt, but I wasn't about to put my plans on hold for her. She got even more upset. She didn't understand how I could spend all that time telling her loved ones not to bring children to her wedding, only to turn around and do it myself. I was shocked. I'm not due until the week after her wedding, so technically I wouldn't be bringing a baby to the wedding. She then expressed how she was concerned about me going into labor at her wedding and started crying. I assured her that wouldn't happen, and for the past couple of months, she's been repeatedly bringing this concern up to me and making comments about my body changing and the pictures, etc. She's mentioned more than once she's worried I'll be taking attention away from her, and now I'm starting to believe it. Last night, some of the other bridesmaids went out drinking with Sarah, and I guess my pregnancy came up again because I've received quite a few texts and snaps telling me that I'm a bad friend and don't deserve to be a part of this wedding. They've even called me an idiot for planning my pregnancy during the wedding. Am I the idiot? Honey, skip the wedding and lose the friend. You're not the idiot. The fact that you would have had to put off getting pregnant for 2 years to make her happy, because let's be honest, there was no acceptable time for you to become even a day pregnant other than after her wedding. Friends are happy when their friends get pregnant. Friends are not friends when they're worried it might affect their big day. She's not a friend. She's an utter horror and has good gallow piece so twisted up she can't see it. Agree, drop this diva. This whole wedding culture has gotten completely out of hand. So the bride expects everyone she knows to center all their major life events, including family planning, around her stupid wedding? The entitlement and audacity that comes with weddings are ridiculous. I would bow out of being the maid of honor and let one of the harpies take over. Life is too short for nagging witches. She cares more about herself than you, and the nerve to constantly bring it up. I wouldn't be surprised if she purposely tried to stress you out because she knows it harms the baby. And the nerve of these other friends. When you have difficulty getting pregnant, there's no real planning. You try and try and try some more, or you'll never get pregnant. Ugh, I'm so mad about this. I'd get rid of the whole friend group. I've been married to my wife, Denise, for 5 years now. She has a son, Michael, who's 18. We get along pretty well. He's a good kid with a great head on his shoulders. This past year, my wife and I welcomed our first biological child together, Sarah. We're going to go through the process of updating our wills, which means choosing guardians in the event that both of us died. When Michael was younger, Denise had her parents listed, but they're older now and in no condition to take care of a baby. We asked my sister and her husband. They agreed. We were explaining some things to Michael that came along with the will. Insurance goes to him if we both pass, what we'd inherit, etc. We also explained that there was an account set up for him to get his own apartment once he finished college. He's currently a freshman, should we both pass by then. Unlikely, but all bases covered sort of thing. Michael then asked what would happen to Sarah. We told him our guardian choices. Michael straightened up and said that no, he would take on Sarah. I said that was very sweet, but he's still very young. Maybe we consider updating it in 10 years or so when he's older and more established. My wife said we'd think about it. In private, I asked if she was seriously considering it. She pointed out that Michael spends a lot of time with her, is a good kid, etc., and is volunteering. I said I wouldn't feel comfortable putting the fate of our daughter in the hands of a young adult. I said if Denise was changing her mind, or my sister and brother-in-law, that was completely fine, but to me, Michael is not an option, and it should be a 2 yes, 1 no win situation. She asked if it would really be so bad if Michael were to become guardian, and I laughed. While yes, Michael is volunteering, he has no real clue what would come with being a parent. As I said, in 10 years, when he's more established and an adult, I'd consider it. For now, it needs to be someone else. Denise isn't upset that I don't want Michael to be the guardian, but she's upset over how dismissive I'm being and that I laughed at her. She says that I'm being hurtful and offensive to both her and her son. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You're not only being condescending and dismissive, you've also just told your wife. I don't think you've raised someone capable of looking after his sister, and I'd rather break up our blended family unit than give him the chance to try. Not thrusting the responsibility for a child upon him is one thing, but if he's responsible enough to ask, you should at least do him the courtesy of discussing it. Your sister and her husband could always take over or help out if it does become too much for him. Exactly. I teared up at Michael stepping up to the plate. That's a stand-up kid, and I'd be proud if he were my own. He's 18 years old. In 10 years, he'll be 5 years older than the average American at the birth of their first child. He's certainly old enough for it to be a consideration now. In 10 years, just considering it would be flat out rude. He's being extremely disrespectful to both his wife and his stepson. True, but if you have an 18-year-old and someone who's older and has experience with raising a family, which would you go for? I don't think considering it in 10 years is rude, though, since there is a lot that could happen in 10 years, even 5. It's just that given the choices that OP has, the alternative to his stepson is currently the better choice. So I don't think OP is the idiot just because of this. OP, I would feel the same as you. I'd laugh if someone suggested my 18-year-old stepson suddenly become a parent full-time to a grieving child. That's not fair either to your stepson or your child, and it's not realistic for your stepson to think it's a good idea either. My 21 male, brother 20, is overweight, about 200 pounds at 5'10", and my family wants him to lose weight. They've enlisted my help with this over spring break because, according to them, A, I'm very fit and a personal trainer, so I have personal experience. 2, I'm a pre-med, so I have some level of academic knowledge on this. I told them it would be better to consult a doctor or a nutritionist, but they said I should at least try. I first asked him if that's what he wanted, and he agreed. I told him the key to weight loss is a caloric deficit. Doing cardio will also help, but a caloric deficit of, say, 500 calories off what he needs to maintain his current weight, plus cardio, will burn even more together. I did the calculations to figure out how many calories he should be eating per day. There are multiple ways to calculate it, so I ran different calculations, and since they all came out with similar results, I just averaged them. I told him how to measure his calories and then let him do it. He came to me a week later, saying my method was wrong because he had checked his weight and gained 2 pounds. I told them this was quite literally impossible if he was following the caloric restriction. Doctors haven't reported any illnesses that could cause weight gain or prevent weight loss. I haven't noticed any symptoms of any such diseases. So in that case, eating less quite literally would have to mean weight loss. He insisted he was doing everything right, so I told him to just show me everything he ate the next day. He agreed. The next day, I immediately saw his issue. He was eating what he assumed to be small portions and thus underestimating the calories. For example, he ate 2 slices of pizza. He estimated it was 200 calories because it's only 2 slices, and he ate a scoop of ice cream and estimated it as 50 calories. So I tallied up the actual amount of calories he was eating, and he was eating 1,000 more than he needed to maintain his weight, or in other words, 1,500 more than the amount he was supposed to eat to lose weight. I told him the science doesn't lie on this, and it's clear he's eating too much to lose weight. I proceeded to tell him that he doesn't have to lose weight if he doesn't want to, but if he does, the amount he's eating is too much. He got angry at this and called me an idiot. That's not fair. I asked him at every turn if he wanted to do this, and he said he did. And so I wasn't forcing something on him that he didn't want. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I did this 20 years ago. I was 5'6" and almost 300 pounds. I started working out but wasn't making any progress. I started a food diary. I weighed and logged everything I ate. I very quickly learned that even though I was eating healthier, my portions were more than double what was recommended. I was eating more calories than I needed. Once I cut my caloric intake down to 1,000 calories a day, the weight just dropped off. In 7 months, I lost 140 pounds. I wore a bikini for the first time in 2 decades. Maybe your brother's just embarrassed. Talk to him. Be empathetic. I mean, losing 140 pounds in 7 months doesn't seem healthy at all. And for many people, keeping a food diary will just give them an eating disorder. Just because it works for some people doesn't mean it should work for everyone. 1,000 calories a day is ridiculous. You are the idiot. To start with, 200 pounds is a big deal to your family? That seems like a pretty normal weight for someone to be. Also, losing weight is more than just counting calories and exercising. It's unlearning habits we learned from our parents and self-esteem issues that can cause us to harm ourselves by overeating on top of medical problems that can cause us to gain weight. Be a little more sensitive and ask questions. Maybe you'll find a way to reach your brother. This story is a great example of the blind leading the blind. Everyone's the idiot here. Your parents are for pushing this on you when you don't know what you're doing to be helpful in this particular case. It's not like asking for gym exercise advice. Because you didn't give your brother the correct information on effectively measuring intake, and seeing as you had agreed to take responsibility, that's on you. And your brother's a bit because, while it's sort of on him for not doing his own research as well, he didn't need to lash out at you. I, 37 male, work for a small tech company. My local university has a partnership with our company and invites some of us to judge a game jam competition where students have 3 days to make a small game in groups. I was one of the judges. There were a lot of groups that were mixed gender, some with just guys and 3 groups with only girls. 2 of the girl groups dropped out the first day as they felt they couldn't get their idea done. When I passed by the work of the remaining girl group, I saw that they were making really good progress, and I complimented them on their game, saying it was looking really good, and mentioned that the other girl groups dropped out, but it looks like they're surviving. One of the girls got upset at me and said I shouldn't be complimenting their project in a way that implies that it's good work for a girl project. She was visibly cold with me for the rest of the competition and glared at me. And I think she complained to someone because later I got a message from a manager about making sure I was sensitive about the lack of women in computer science. I still gave their project a good score, as it was really good and my 3rd favorite. They ended up winning, and my 1st and 2nd pick came 2nd and 4th, respectively. Am I the idiot for complimenting their project? You are the idiot for making it about their gender. Plus, college students are not girls. They're grown-up adult women. And language matters. Unless you're referring to the other competitors as boys, these aren't girls. Language like that is yet another small way to demean women.